Good evening, Wareham, and welcome to the March 4th, 2025 Select Board meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, present tonight is Mr. Bessie, Ms. Corbett, Ms. Whiteside, myself, Chair Chadwick, Ms. Quirk, Mr. Sullivan, and Mr. Bowen.
I declare that there is a quorum present. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to have a moment of silence. Mr. Barry, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you guys sit down, guys and gals, I'd like to call for a moment of silence for William, known as Billy Ellis. Bill Ellis served as harbor master for the town of Wareham from 1986 to 1998. He also was a firefighter in the Onset Fire and Rescue Department, as well as a Vietnam War veteran. He served for 14 years in the U.S. Army, starting at the age of 18. Thank you for your service, sir. And may we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Residents' comments. Is there anyone here who chooses to address this board on a non-agenda item? Mr. Day? Thank you. I will go to announcements. I'm going to be jumping all over on this agenda. We have 2 hearings at specific dates, but we also have Mr. Foster here to sign some big money documents. So Mr. Chadwick already knows we're going to be jumping.
Yes.
Announcements. Mr. Bessie?
None tonight.
Ms. Corbett?
None.
Mr. Chadwick?
None.
And Ms. Quirk?
I have one. Wanted to announce for those who are interested in bicycling and interested in the bicycling committee, there is a summit coming up of the South Coast Bikeway Alliance. The South Coast Bikeway Alliance is an alliance of all the towns that are supporting the construction of a bike path from basically New Bedford, Providence, New Bedford, through Wareham, and on to the Cape. And Wareham is a member of that group. The summit is intended to marshal support for the bike path. There will be a speaker there who has written a book called Aging Strong, Older Woman, Super Athlete. Hopefully we'll be able to tell those of us who are older but not super athletes how to age gracefully in the athletic sphere. I would urge you to think about coming. Looks like it's going to be really fun. And anything that contributes to the enhancement of bicycling in this area, I think, is a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you. And what's the date again, please?
It's May 13th.
Where?
It's going to be in New Bedford.
Thank you. I have no announcements at this time. At this time, I'm going to ask that we go to item number 9A, discussion and possible vote to authorize an interim loan and bond with the Clean Water Trust. Mr. Foster, would you step forward and identify yourself for the record, please?
Hi, John Foster, Treasurer Collector, Finance Director for the town of Wareham.
Excellent. Can you explain what it is that you're asking us to do tonight, please?
This is a $20 million interim loan, 0% interest, with the Clean Water Trust. Back in October, we entered the first interim loan for $16 million, $36 million project for upgrades at the water pollution control facility. Once again, it's a 0% loan. We are then going to enter at some point when this project is complete a 2% loan with the trust. They're both scheduled to come up in 2026, the closing of the loan. Both are scheduled for, both are estimated to be 2%. The first loan that we had, the $16 million, it was loan forgiveness tied in with that loan. The town received a 14.9% loan forgiveness grant from the Clean Water Trust. So we're actually paying back on that first loan $16,957,000 over the 20 years, which is very good, because we borrowed $16 million. So over 20 years, we're paying back less than $1 million in interest. And this is hopefully, it's anticipated that we should receive between 9 and 10% of loan forgiveness on this $20 million loan.
Whoever has something that I can hear, please.
It's outside.
It's outside.
Is that outside?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
outside.
thanks. Go ahead.
So we need to take a vote on it this evening.
Okay, so the clerk of the board is going to read a vote that we will then vote, and then he will certify the vote by reading further. Mr. Chadwick.
I, the clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Wareham, Massachusetts, certify that meeting of the board held on March 4th, 2025, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, the following vote was passed, all of which appears upon the official record of the board in my custody. Voted 1, that the town shall issue a bond or bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million, the bonds pursuant of chapters 29C and 44 of general laws, in a vote of the town passed October 23rd, 2023, Article 26, for the planning of construction of sewers and other water pollution control abatement infrastructure, the project. 2, that the terms of the financial agreement between the town and the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the trust, the financing agreement, and the project regulatory agreement between the town and the Department of Environmental Protection of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, DEP, and the project regulatory agreement, each relating to the notes and the bonds, are hereby approved. 3, that in anticipation of the issuance of the bonds, and treasurer authorized to issue an interim loan note or notes, the notes, from time to time in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million. 4, that each bond or note shall be issued as a single registered security and sold to the trust at a price determined pursuant to the financing agreement. 5, that the treasurer is authorized to determine the date, the form, the maximum interest rate, and the principal maturities of each bond and note, and to execute a financial agreement with the trust with respect to the sales of the bonds and notes such date from maturities, and the specific interest rate or rates of the bonds and notes to be approved by a majority of the select board and the treasurer, and evidenced by their execution of the bonds or notes. 6, that all certificates or documents related to each bond, notes, collectively, the documents may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original, and all of which shall constitute one in the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart, a signature page document by electronic mail, and a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be effective as delivered, or manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic signatures on any of all documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purpose of documents, and all matters related to thereto having the same legal effect as original signatures. 7, that all actions taken to the date by the town and its officers and agents to carry out the project and its financing, including the execution of loan commitment or agreement by the treasurer, are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. And 8, that the treasurer and the appropriate town officials are each hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary to or convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including execution and delivery of the financing agreement and the project regulatory agreement related to the project.
Thank you. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We have voted unanimously to do that. Next, Mr. Clerk.
I further certify that the vote was adopted at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above vote, was filed by the town clerk, and a copy thereafter posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located, or, if applicable, in accordance with the alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.032B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remained so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberation or decision in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes were taken in executive session, that official record of the meeting was made available to the public promptly and remains available to the public, all in accordance with GL General Law, Section 30A, 1825, as amended. I further certify that the vote has not been amended, supplemented, or revoked and remains in effect to this date, March 4th, 2025.
Clerk of the Select Board.
Clerk of the Select Board.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other documents that you need from us, Mr. Foster?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and great news on the rates and great news on the forgiveness. That's
Yeah, very good.
fabulous.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the good work in keeping up our bond rating, which is superior, and you and your team certainly, and Mr. Sullivan is included in the team. I guess he's the team leader. You've done a really nice job in the past 12 years, and we really appreciate it. It shows on the bottom line.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to. We have a 7:15 hearing. We can't hold it early. Let's go to,
D.
no, let's go to. Okay, 9B, which was discussion and possible vote to adopt Select Board Policy 2025-2 regarding social media presence. It's come to my attention that a couple of the volunteer boards and committees have their own Facebook pages in the name of whatever that committee is. That is clearly not allowed under our policy that we've already adopted. But this policy that was drafted up, and you have a copy of it, is absolutely more specific. Town departments may, in fact, have social media pages, but no volunteer board or committee may. And that's what this policy is asking that we adopt. So if you don't have any questions, may I have a motion?
I move to adopt Select Board Policy 2025-2 regarding social media presence.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. Discussion and possible vote to review and reconfirm our amended local licensing authority regulations. These regulations were drafted, I think, in 2012, and the only change that has been made to them is that we have changed the word selectmen, Board of Selectmen, to Select Board throughout the document. The document has been reviewed by Mr. Bowen, who actually was one of the authors of the document way back when, and it's appropriate for us from time to time to look at our policies and to reaffirm them. We were able to quote this policy in an ABCC hearing in terms of a violation of a liquor license. So unless you have any questions, I would ask for a motion. You have a copy of the document in front of you.
I move to review and reconfirm amended local licensing authority regulations.
Second?
It
Okay,
should
motion,
just be
yeah,
reconfirmed.
take the word review out of there.
I
Okay,
take that back.
thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion to reconfirm our amended local licensing authority regulations? This has to do with liquor licenses. Any further discussion? No? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. We will come back to. I don't know how long that discussion might take, so let's try and figure out something else to do.
Extension.
D, yeah. Ms. Quirk and myself, several months ago, this board authorized me to negotiate with WCTV on the contract that expires on March 19th of this year. Ms. Quirk and Matt Underhill have been working with me on that document. You have a draft of a document. We are proposing that we extend the agreement with them only for a one-year period so that we can make sure that we have our updated content, so that the town has its updated contracts with Comcast and with Verizon, so that we can include those by notation in the new document. So this is the appropriate way, I believe, to address this. It has been reviewed by town council. A draft has been sent to WCTV. They have not raised any issues nor any complaints. There's a document that they have to return to us, which is a corporate certificate of vote, which they will be providing to us. So if there's no other questions, I would ask for a Motion to authorize the chair to execute an extension agreement between the Select Board and WCTV. It is actually the Select Board's contract, not anybody else's, not the town, not town administrator. So, motion.
All right. I move to authorize the chair to execute an extension agreement between the Select Board and WCTV.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to authorize the chair to sign that extension agreement. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. I now tell you that it's 7:15, and I'm going to ask any representatives of Town Tavern to step forward and take a seat. And is Mr. Iada going to be joining?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay. Mr. Iada, if he could raise his hand, I will ask you to read the motion to go into a public hearing, please.
I move to open public hearing for 7:15 PM, VMB Restaurant, Inc., DBA Town Tavern and Tap, David Barry, manager, for an alteration of premises related to the common vic all alcohol beverage license exercised at 3138 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass.
Is there a second to opening the motion?
Second?
Hearing. Motion made and seconded to open the hearing. Is there any further discussion on the motion to open the hearing? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie? Ms.
Yes.
Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. The hearing is opened. Would you identify yourself for the record, sir, and any other representatives of you or your company, would they identify themselves for the record too, please? And then it's up to you.
Absolutely. David Barry.
And remotely, John Aida, McDermott, Quilty, Mill and Haley, 28 State Street, Boston. We'll do our best not to talk over one another. Appreciate you allowing us to do this hybridly.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'll start, and then if you have any specific questions for David, he is there in person as well. So this is an application for an alteration of premise. Just briefly by way of background, the ABCC last year, and it was a law enacted by Governor Healy, issued an advisory. So any extension to outdoor seating, which includes alcoholic beverages, no longer requires ABCC approval. However, it does still require the approval of the local licensing authority, your select board. So we are in front of you on this application. We have used the alteration of premise application as the format, but I'm sure there may be other acceptable formats. As this board may recall, when Town Tavern and Tap was first approved, it did include an outdoor patio area of 66 seats on the left-hand side of the building. And although that was approved by this board, other departments would not sign off on that on a permanent basis. It was initially enacted during COVID and to allow temporary extension on the patio. So therefore, Dave explored other options. He's been through both zoning and has started the process with building department as well, and has received a temporary or initial approval, I should say, for the outdoor seating at the right side of the building if you're facing it from Cranberry Highway. That has a lot more space. There's better access from the parking area. So what is being proposed is an outdoor deck area. There will be an additional 88 seats. There's a covered bar, which covers approximately 37 of those seats, and the remaining seats around the perimeter with tables and chairs tallies 51 seats. There are no other changes to the interior. No additional occupancy is requested. So therefore, we're not looking to expand anything beyond that. So essentially, we're moving the seating that was previously approved from the left-hand side of the building to the right-hand side of the building with a new deck and a new bar area, and it will have 88 total seats. Happy to answer any additional questions you may have. And Dave, not to step on your toes, if you had anything else you wanted to add, please do so.
Thanks. Anything you'd like to add? No. Do any of my board members have any questions, comments? No? I have two documents that I need to read into the record. I received them today and yesterday. Oh, yeah, go ahead. But you're not going to read this part because it doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just cross it out so I don't read it. I'm a Wareham homeowner. I've had recent hip surgery and cannot attend this meeting in person, Zoom. Question mark. I'm lucky to even have internet email. I would like my comments on the matter to be read into this meeting's minutes. This is regarding the Town Tavern exterior deck. I live around the corner on Chippewa and Cohasset. This owner has done a tremendous amount of work on this building and the house across the street, turning both from real disasters to very nice buildings, parking lots, fences, using quality materials. He should be congratulated. There had been an exterior patio set on the Chippewa side of the building when it was Lindsay's Restaurant, so why not now? If this is on his property, it is not encroaching on the public way. If the public way is too narrow, why was it not too narrow previously? And the street is actually a town problem. No one should be driving in the private property. Signed, R. Becca Britt, 15 Chippewa Drive, Wareham, Mass. 02532.
Thank you. Then I received another document, and this individual wants to make sure that these things are done, so you'll have to read them and then read the name, please.
Yep. I will not call in, but will list my concerns on this hearing. You have enough BS on your agenda tonight.
No. Go ahead.
You said read it, I'm reading it. 1, temporary certificate of compliance for the restaurant will expire 12/31/25. The applicant was approved for petition 3224 from the ZBA for site plan review, which include the newly outdoor patio to the right of the main building. 3, the patio, in order to receive occupancy, will have to have everything approved on their petition completed, which would include all site work, landscaping, lighting, etc. 4, completion of the requirements of the approval plan would allow the entire site to operate under a full occupancy permit. 5, there will be a temporary CO issued for the patio. The liquor license should condition as required a full CO. I hope the select board will put these conditions on any action taken. Sent from iPad and Alan Slavin.
Thank you. I believe the issue of, you had addressed, because one of them is actually asking, why are you flipping from one side of the building to the other? So if you would like to reiterate that,
Sure. When we went,
why you were made to change.
yeah, when we went, we originally proposed putting it on the far side, the original side, the left side of the building, because that's where it was existing when it was the Lindsay's property. Upon further development, when we got in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals, they declined on allowing that to happen, saying that it was given to Lindsay's for the purpose of COVID. So to go back to the drawing board and shut it down for that particular area. So we tried to do a little bit of thinking and came up with the design on the right side of the building, seeing that we had plenty enough parking on site anyway. We weren't only going to be losing 4 of our multiple spots that we had to do the deck that we had. So when we put that proposal together and presented it to zoning, they were very pleased and very happy with it. So that was the purpose of why it was redesigned and flipped onto the other side of the building.
Okay. And you have been before the ZBA?
Yeah, full approval on ZBA. There was the full approval on the deck itself, and then some landscaping enhancements and some curbing that they wanted to get completed.
And a full site plan review?
There was not one required based off of the zoning's information when we were in front of Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay. Any questions? Is there anyone else who would like to either speak in favor of is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the applicant? Yes, sir. You're going to need to step forward and give us your name and then your address,
Yeah,
please.
my name's Mohammed Marzouk.
Could you have a seat?
Got a great job over there.
Sir, can you sit down, please? Sorry.
Yeah, no, we live right around the corner. I mean, they've really turned the place around. I think these guys should absolutely be able to do it.
Thank you very much.
Could you spell your name for me, please? Just for the record, I have to have it.
Sure. M-O-H-A-M-M-E-D.
You'll have to do it, yeah.
Sorry.
M-O-H,
A-M-M-E-D M-A-R-Z-U-Q.
Thank you.
thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the applicant? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition for this application? No? Okay. Then I would ask for a motion to close the hearing.
I move to close the 7:15 public hearing. VMB Restaurant, Inc., DBA Town Tavern Tap, David Barry, manager, for the alteration of premises related to the common vic all alcohol beverage license exercised at 3138 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. Is there any further discussion on the motion to close the hearing? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk? Aye. Ms. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, the hearing is closed. What would you, ladies and gentlemen, like to do?
I move to approve.
As requested?
I move to approve B&B Restaurant, Inc., DBA Town Tavern Tap, David Barry, manager, for the alteration of premises related to the common vic all alcohol beverage license exercised at 3138 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass.
Just one quick question.
Say
oh.
seconded first.
Oh, second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, just one quick question. So I just want to get confirmation on the request that was sent in about some conditions. There was a mention about putting a condition on the license to approve it based on a full occupancy. Can you just read that again? I want to understand what the request was before I would decide whether.
And I think that we will allow Mr. Ieta to answer on your behalf or yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Which one? Temporary certificate of compliance for the restaurant will expire 12/31/23. The applicant was approved for petition 3224 from the ZBA for site plan review, which includes the newly outdoor patio to the right of the main building. The patio, in order to receive occupancy, will have to have everything approved under the petition completed, which would include all site work, landscape, lighting, etc. Completion of the requirements of the approved plan would allow the entire site to operate under a full occupancy permit. There will not be a temporary CO issued for the patio. The liquor license should condition all the requirements of a full CO.
So they're saying in that email that was sent in that the town wouldn't grant them a temporary on the patio, that they would only grant them full occupancy once all the work is complete?
Maybe Mr. Ieta can answer.
From what I was told, so we are currently operating under a temporary occupancy while the construction was being done outside until the end of 2025. They've since said in the building permit that was issued to us that they will not give us occupancy on the deck until all the other obligations are done on the property itself.
And do we see that as being?
I'm going to try as hard as we physically can because it's a very in-depth project. We've already started on the left side where the original patio was. We had the walkways put in, and we had some of the loom spread, and the just obviously can't put the plants in right now with the up and down of the weather.
Yep.
But it's a pretty in-depth project with curbing and state approvals and all that stuff. I mean, we're going to start building the deck. I'm going to try my best to hope that we're ready. I don't want to miss the beat come the end of May, but I also could possibly be sitting there dormant until all that stuff is done, which is going to be a difficult one, but we're going to try.
So is the goal to try to have the deck completed for this summer?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think, you know, I mean, that answers my question. I don't know that necessarily conditioning the full approval, because it already looks like the town has already put a hard line saying that they wouldn't give any more extension to the temporary CO if everything else wasn't completed, so.
He's on a temporary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're saying they wouldn't extend it, is what I'm
Right.
saying. So, I mean, I don't know if a condition on the liquor license would be necessary.
So
But that's,
he has to apply, the company has to apply before November 30th
Yep.
for their annual renewal. So at that point, we certainly would know whether you have been able to finish everything that the ZBA has required of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's also waiting on state.
yeah.
We're obviously waiting on in order for us to obviously do the curbing that was requested, we have to wait for the state, but, I mean, we're going to chip away everything we can to try to get done. My biggest priority is to get the deck done, so at least we can do each project accordingly with the hopes, you know.
Yeah, and we all know how fast the state moves unless they're taking money from you.
That's just my only difficulty is, you know, we could be ready to go and still don't have the state approval for the curbing, but yet we're standing there with the deck with not able to do much of anything with it, you know?
Yeah, no, I'd like to ask all the questions before that way nobody feels any certain way that we didn't have a discussion about it. So thank you for all of the information. Appreciate it.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. Are there any other questions or comments? Then I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. Would you like me to send to your attorney the copies of the emails that we got?
Yeah, that would be appreciated, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iada. Nice to see you again. And I just want to say, this is what an applicant's paperwork looks like when it's done perfectly and we don't have to double-check a thing, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
John, I did have one question, and I don't know if John wanted to elaborate on it. I know John and I were talking, we initially were coming with the flip of the deck. Do we have to come through again with the already approval of the outdoor entertainment that we discussed before?
If I could just add to that, Dave, yeah, you're right. So if you recall, the board approved the
Yeah, we're going to have to do that.
outdoor entertainment. My question, I guess, to the board would be, would a new floor plan showing that location suffice? Or does it require a separate hearing where the board already approved entertainment outdoors?
Mr. Bowen, I'm going to ask you to answer that question. We approved the outdoor entertainment on the other side of the building, and now it's on the other side of the building. It was when you look at it, it was on the left-hand side. It's now going to be on the right-hand side. Would you answer that question, sir?
Madam Chairman, the entertainment license would have to be amended because it was given as to a specific location. That's always a sensitive subject because of concerns generally, not necessarily with respect to your establishment, about noise, traffic, and so forth. So to do it properly, you would have to apply to amend the location, and it would have to come before the board under
A hearing.
140, 183A.
Okay, so I guess you'll have to send us another application, and we'll have to do another hearing. I apologize.
Well,
But
that's
it
fine. We'll
wasn't-
make sure we do that, so
Huh?
we'll submit that plan and we'll update that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
you.
thank you for choosing to do business in Wareham. We appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
Good night. I'm now going to call for the 7:30 hearing. May I have a motion, please, to open the public hearing?
I move to open the 7:30 PM public hearing fiscal year '25 grant application to the Massachusetts Community Development Grant CDBG program.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open the hearing. Is there any further discussion on the motion to open the hearing? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk? And Mr. Chadwick? And myself, the hearing is open. I believe we have Christine Sullivan in the audience, and I'm not sure if she has someone else with her. Yeah,
I see Christine Sullivan, I don't know if you're in, I also had a Wayne.
yes, yep, Dara, yep. And if you are interested in what we are talking about, there's documentation in the front on the table, and please help yourself to it. And then I would also ask you to sign in that you are here and listening to this application. Christine, I'm going to ask you, or Wayne, whichever one of you is going to be doing this talking, to identify yourself and then go through the packet. We do have a very, we got the packet, we got the additional information as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us here this evening. Christine, is Karen also joining us?
Yes, do you see Karen McDonough as well? She should be joining.
If you could let her into the meeting. We're here tonight to start the process of the FY 2025 Community Development Block Grant application process with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. I am the president of Community Opportunities Group. Community Opportunities Group has been the town's CDBG consultant for a number of years now. Also here with me tonight are my colleagues Christine Sullivan and Karen McDonough. They have been staffing the office on a regular basis in Town Hall. So I understand the board has a crowded agenda tonight, so we'll try and move through this as quickly as we can. The CDBG program has been very successful in the town of Wareham. It's been used for a number of different types of programs over the years, everything from housing rehab to infrastructure, downtown improvements and streetscape improvements, public social services, improvements to the housing authority buildings. We've done a very good job of trying to leverage these funds to the benefit of the town and its citizens. In addition to talking about a potential application for the FY25 grant, we also need to discuss the current status of the other open grants that the town has. We have a lot of them. The progress got slowed down a little bit by the infrastructure project on Highland Ave and at Bayview Park. But now that that program got moving and that project got moving, we can close out some of our older grants. The town's 2019 grant is currently open. They received $825,000 in grant funds in that year. They were used for the Bayview Park and Highland Ave project. They're also used for a housing rehab program and roof improvements at the Redwood Park development of the Wareham Housing Authority, as well as public social services. We've finally expended all of the all of the program-related funds under the 2019. There's just some small amounts of admin money left to expend and close out that grant. We would like to have that done by the end of this month, if not by June 30th at the latest. The town also has an FY20 grant, also in the amount of $825,000. That grant funded additional work at the Bayview Park project, housing rehab, and social services. Most of the money on this grant is expended. The housing rehab and Bayview Park projects are 100% expended, and 4 of the 5 social services are also 100% expended. That leaves us with 1 social service, the Community Youth Empowerment Program, CYE, that has yet to fully expend its funds. We've been working with CYE to try and come up with some new marketing ideas for them and some ways to attract more attention and participation in their program. But at this point, because they are the only program that is requiring us to keep the 2020 grant open, we've had a discussion with CYE. They also received funds under the 24 grant. Is that correct, Christine, the 24 grant? Yes.
Yes.
So they've agreed to forfeit the remaining funds under FY20 and begin concentrating on spending their FY 2024 funds. That leaves us with approximately $24,000 in public social service funding under the FY 2020 grant. We've had discussions with our representative at EOHLC, and they have agreed to allow us to reprogram those funds to other social service programs that were also included in that grant. So we're proposing that the board authorize us to move forward with program amendments that would split those remaining funds 50-50 between Damien's Place and Turning Point. The reason we selected those organizations is because they've been very, very successful at spending the money awarded to them. the program for their demand, the demand for their programs continues to increase. And we know that moving the money into their program will see it get spent very quickly and allow us to then close out the 2020 grant also. So I'm wondering if there's any discussion from the board about that proposal, or if we could get a vote from the board authorizing us to split those remaining funds 50-50 between Damien's Place and Turning Point.
So we would have to make we'll do a vote at the end, yeah. Sorry. So we would have to have a vote to authorize you to do that?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Do you want us to do that at the end of the whole presentation? Or do you want us to do it now?
Yeah, if you want, we can save all the motions and votes for the end, if you think that would be the best way to proceed.
I think we just should do it as we're going along. So
Okay.
it's approximately $24,000, is that what you said?
Yes, $24,169.32.
So 24,169.32. So
Correct.
I'll entertain a motion to authorize the expenditure of the 24,169.32, 50/50 to Family Pantry Damien's Place and WACH, known as Turning Point, Wareham area.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to authorize that amendment. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay. One down.
Great, thank you. Next grant we need to review is the town's 2021 grant. We do have some significant unexpended funds here. That doesn't mean they're not committed. There's $415,000 that has been committed to the Bayview Park and Highland Avenue sidewalk projects. None of it's been expended yet, but with construction restarting as the weather warms up, those funds are going to move very quickly over the next couple of months. As you probably know, construction on that project was suspended first week of December. So while it's still there available, it is in fact committed. All of the public social services money under the 21 grant have been expended. The other project that we have outstanding is 195 Main Street building study. We have just had a devil of a time trying to find an engineer or an architect who's interested in doing this project for us. We've reached out through ads, we've reached out through direct phone calls, we've emailed, proposed the RFP to folks, we've spoken with the building department, asked them for suggestions on who might be willing to do this work. And we just keep hitting dead ends. And quite frankly, I don't know what we need to do next to get this project moving. We have received a couple more suggestions for firms to reach out to. We will do that. But the fact that we've been marketing this for over a year and we still don't have any interested parties is disappointing to us.
May I ask who owns the property? We do?
No.
Who owns the property?
That's the one downtown. That's the old, next to the Cornwall building, the one falling down.
Oh,
The Wakefield.
thank you.
So we'll continue to look for someone to do this work. Eventually, we may have to come back and talk about reprogramming it for some other use. Next up is the.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Wayne. The program delivery and general administration, the 83%, you'll be able to spend the rest of that? I'm
Yeah,
still
the
looking at.
vast majority of that is committed.
Yep, okay, thank you.
You know, they don't want to see us get too far ahead of the project costs with our admin costs, but
Right. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. The next grant is the FY 22-23. Because this was a double year of funding, the town actually received $1.65 million. We program those funds for housing rehab, for window replacement project at Redwood Park, and then for social services. Again, the housing rehab program is moving along. There's plenty of demand for these funds, more demand than these funds can meet. As a matter of fact, we are just seeing costs skyrocket on our housing rehab programs, not just in Wareham, but, COG works all around the state on housing rehab programs, and projects that 3 years ago cost $45,000 now cost $65,000. It's crazy. The state has acknowledged this. They've raised the per unit caps to allow us to spend more money per unit, but fact of the matter is that housing rehab costs are allowing us to only do about half as many units as we used to do. The Redwood Park replacement project has been slowed down a little bit, not so much on the town's end, but because of some miscommunication at EOHLC's public housing unit. It's taken us a little while, but we've finally been assigned a FISH project number, which they officially have to do before they will recognize the fact that the Housing Authority has a project that needs to go forward. We're still waiting for them to assign an architect to this project for us. But we think once we get this bid, because it's just windows, it'll actually move fairly quickly. So we're hoping to have this bid this spring and have construction done before the cold weather hits again next fall and winter. Under the social service programs we funded in 22-23, 2 of them, Damien's Place and Turning Point, are 100% expended. And GATRA is about a third of the way through their funding. That brings us to the 2024 grant. The town received $925,000. That program is just getting off the ground. We've just completed all of the startup steps that we had to take in order to be eligible to submit a 2025 grant. But we've received our release of funds, and we are in fact ready to start moving forward with that program, or that grant. It has housing rehab. If you remember, we also are going to be putting funding into the Evergreen House and rehabbing their facility, and also 5 social services. So we'll be getting memorandums of understanding out to the social services and getting those contracts all lined up so they can start expending these funds. Any questions about any of that information I just threw at you?
I just have a quick question on the last one, not the 24, but,
22, 23.
yeah, what is
22, 23?
Redwood Park, what is Redwood Park?
That's a housing authority development.
Okay.
Behind
So
the Catholic Church.
we had previously done roofs there.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about. Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys.
So that brings us to 2025. The town is eligible for $850,000 this year. We are proposing that majority of the funds be designated for a housing rehab program. As I mentioned earlier, we have tremendous demand for this program. Christine, how many applications do we have on the waiting list?
55.
Okay, so again, multiple years of funding that we are facing demand for. The other thing we'd like to do is continue the town's commitment to its local public social service providers. We're suggesting that we designate the maximum amount we can for that program, which is 20% of the grant, $170,000 in this case. including the admin of those programs. So there'll be about $130,000 approximately available for the social service providers. We don't have any other infrastructure projects that are in a position to move forward. Nothing we have plans on. So that's our suggestion to the board this evening, is to authorize the submission of an FY 2025 CDBG grant application for up to $850,000. That includes a housing rehabilitation program and social service funding for up to 5 providers. I don't know if anyone has any suggestions, if there's anyone at home that has comments or questions, or...
Wayne, I'm going to get a motion on that in a second, and then we'll ask for public comment, if that's okay.
We should
Okay.
do it before the motion. You should do that before the motion.
Yeah.
Should get-
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to how the funds would be allocated? Please. The person will have to identify himself, herself.
Hello, Jim Manise. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm in agreement on the housing rehab. Excuse me. We used to be able to put them on the subsidized housing inventory, and I know it's not a requirement, but I would like to see us move in that direction. They're generally done as 15-year grants with forgiveness. If they sell it beforehand, they pay the money back. I believe they put a lien on it now. It would help in our subsidized housing inventory if it can be done. And I would like that consideration. I've spoken with Ms. Sullivan about this. Tried to research it somewhat. And I can't see where it says you can't do it, and we used to. And if we need to put liens on them anyhow, it's a little bit of a different verbiage, but beyond that, I don't see much difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Manise. Can you answer that question, Mr. Dara?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There are certain types of housing rehab units that do count on local subsidized housing inventory. They would be investor-owned units because the investor-owned units are subject to the recording of an affordable housing restriction, which runs with the property for 15 years and requires that a new owner would still have to honor the original limitations on rent for the rental units in the property. The reason a single-family home doesn't count for the subsidized housing inventory, even if it was assisted with housing rehab funds, is that there's no long-term affordability there. They get to sell the property for market rate, and the lien gets repaid, but there's no guarantee of affordability associated with those type of projects. So there has to be that affordable housing restriction which runs with the property even after a sale.
May I speak again?
Go ahead, Mr. Manise.
I understand what you're saying, but are we legally not allowed to make that a condition that the people, I mean, I believe they have to meet certain affordability criteria to get the housing rehab loans. And as long as they remain under the fiscal limitation of affordability, I would think that it would qualify, and it would just be recorded as a deed restricted property. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to get some more homes on the SHI.
Thank you, Mr. Muniz.
I understand that, Mr. Muniz, and I think there was a short window of time when EOHLC's predecessor, DHCD, was allowing this. And they had a change in policy that no longer allowed you to put just a normal housing rehab unit on your subsidized housing inventory. It has to be one with an affordable housing restriction on it. If you would like me to reconfirm that, I can certainly reach out to our reps at EOHLC and see what they have in writing and what they can provide me. But that has been the policy for a while now.
Thank
That
you.
would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other individuals who would like to speak to the proposed use of the funds? No? So, Mr. Dara, could you restate the proposed use of the funds, please?
Certainly. We'd like the board to authorize the submission of an FY 2025 mini entitlement program CDBG application in an amount not to exceed $850,000 to fund a housing rehabilitation activity and up to 5 social service programs.
That's your motion, Mr. Chadwick.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Where's my motion?
Hang on a second. Shouldn't I have closed the hearing first, or not? Yes, I should have closed the hearing first. Would you
Can you say that
withdraw?
one more time in about 3 minutes?
Yeah, can you withdraw your motion, please, your second?
Withdrawn.
Wait, can you withdraw your motion, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions, do any of you have any questions of Mr. Dara or any? No, okay, then I'm going to accept a motion to close the hearing.
I move to close the public hearing fiscal year 25 grant application to the Massachusetts Community Development Grant CDBG program.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. Is there any further discussion on the motion to close the hearing? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It is so. The hearing is closed. And Mr. Dara's suggested motion that Mr. Chadwick made, we will now make. Just say so moved.
So moved.
Excellent.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? And again, it's $850,000. We are authorizing them to submit on our behalf, the town of Wareham behalf, and the funds would be used for housing rehabilitation as well as up to 5 social services programs. Any further discussion? No. Okay, I'm going to go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. Thank you. Do you need anything else from us, Mr. Dara?
I do have one more item we need to address. As part of the grant, we have to complete an environmental review record that requires that the town designate someone as the environmental certifying officer. In the past, that has been the town administrator. So if the board could once again designate the town administrator, Derek Sullivan, as the environmental certifying officer, I would appreciate that.
Do I have a vote in this?
Nope. Is there a second to that, please?
Second.
Is there motion made and seconded to designate Mr. Sullivan as the environmental certification officer? Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Add that to your resume.
Thank you, Derek.
I do want to say with everybody, especially Wayne and all, everybody at COG Inc. and the Select Board, thank you for your vote. This does, I believe, helps those that need it the most within our community, the housing rehab. We know that many people are struggling just to stay afloat, let alone being able to do what they can on their properties. And then the 5 social services, that's actually the maximum amount you can do. So I think this is very representative of what the goal of the mini entitlement grant is. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments for us, Mr. Dare or Sullivan?
No, it was a lot to get through. I just want to thank you for your patience, and we can look forward to continue to work with the town on these issues.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
And the documents will be sent to us? Okay, not that
Yes.
DocuSign stuff, please. For real.
That comes later.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Good night.
Take care. I'm now going to skip to discussion and possible vote on recommendations for the 2025 spring annual town meeting warrant articles, because we have the petitioner for Article, whatever it is, 16, which is the ban of rodenticides here. She has been given a lot of information. She's given us a lot of information, and I'd ask you to step forward, identify yourself for the record, and you have 5 minutes to practice what you would say at town meeting. Thanks. And I apologize for making it so long. Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Bell, and I live in Onset, 38. Well, I probably shouldn't provide my exact address. Do I have permission to read the email, the paper that was just snippets of it? Do I have permission to read that?
The one that I just handed you?
Yeah, the document that was handed to me.
If you want to, but I would prefer that you do your thing first.
Sure.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Oh, of course.
Because you've done a lot of work on this issue, and
I have.
You gave us a lot of information, so I'd
I
like
did.
the public to hear it. Go ahead.
I did.
Go ahead.
So my ask is for the lengthy article that I presented to you, essentially to suspend the registrations of anti-coagulant rodenticide products on public and private property to get onto the warrant for a town vote. I understand that this is a complicated topic. It's a hard ask. I also understand I have the odds stacked against me a little bit, but there has been traction with this conversation. I just jotted on my laptop. I have a few different formats I'm reading off of. Within the last 3 years, Arlington, Brookline, Lexington, Lowell, Newbury, Newton, Orleans, Somerville, Watertown, and Cambridge have banned the use of rodenticide. I know that for most of them it was on public property, and I believe Orleans was private as well. So I would love the opportunity. I think this discussion also brings in a different, I think it's inviting the community in. I think that this is a community issue, and it's opening up a conversation and allowing residents to collaborate with local pest control companies as to how to handle the rodent population. I'm not here advocating for rats. I don't want rats in my house. It's not fun. That's actually why I'm here. I have been experiencing, personally, I've seen the impact of the bait stations, how it's impacting local wildlife as well as domestic animals, dogs in particular, my dogs.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Sure.
You have 5 minutes
Sure.
for us, because you're practicing for the town meeting.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm asking you to allow this article to go onto the warrant, so this can be a conversation for the town. I think other towns
Just one more
have-
time for the public.
Yep.
This has already been put on the warrant. It is
Okay.
article number 16
But
on the warrant, which is going to be discussed on April 28th at 7 PM at the Wareham High School
Okay.
auditorium. So it is on the warrant to
Okay.
be discussed. The town meeting will have the opportunity at that time. What
Okay.
you are doing here tonight is simply telling us why you would like to see this happen.
And I'm trying to do that. I was under the impression that it would go to a vote whether or not that this would be on the warrant for the town meeting. So it is already on. So this is, okay.
Yeah, I've explained that
So I don't
to
have
you a
to,
couple of
I don't have
times.
to shoot my shot then. I mean,
Right,
it's
I've
already.
explained that to you a couple of times.
And I may have not understood it, so I appreciate your patience.
Go ahead.
So I'll keep this brief. I'm sure I'm probably 3 minutes in. You know, before I came in here, I was out in the lobby and I received a document from a concerned person that is on the Massachusetts Pesticide Board, and it begins with, "At risk of sounding undemocratic, allowing a town meeting article to discuss and vote on an emotional and highly technical subject such as the use of the class of rodenticides does not belong at a town meeting." The last sentence is, "In full interest of full disclosure, the seat I fill on the pesticide board is designated for a commercial applicator." So I think this goes to show that this could be an excellent conversation to be had for residents and pesticide companies to collaborate, and we can be creative and use methods, alternatives, rather than using the bait stations that are having, you know, unintended consequences to wildlife, domestic animals that are ingesting it secondary.
So I'm going to, for the record, this email was sent to the Select Board, and I gave you a copy of it. It was not
Yes.
sent to you, it was sent to this board.
Yes, it was provided to me.
Handed it to you as
Yes.
a courtesy.
Yes, yes. So it was provided to me out in the hallway.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's, and I would ask, I do have questions. Is it appropriate to ask questions?
No, what you really
Okay.
need to, one more time, is you have 5 minutes to tell us why we should vote for this.
Okay.
Okay? You would then have 5 minutes after tonight, on April 28th, you would have
Okay.
5 minutes. So you really need to be able to condense,
Fine-tune it. Gotcha.
you know, get the passion out, get the facts in,
Gotcha.
okay?
Yes, and I would love to invite as well, there's a local wildlife rehabilitation center that would love to collaborate with me, would come also, a local pest control company that does offer alternatives. That way, the residents are provided alternatives, so it could be.
Are they both residents of Wareham?
Okay, so, one more time. You are the main petitioner.
Understood.
Okay, so hang on. So you will have the opportunity to present this to the town meeting.
Correct.
Town moderator will then have the opportunity to ask whether somebody who might live in Weymouth is allowed to speak to the town meeting, because that requires a vote of the town meeting. It's kind of complicated.
Yes.
But what I think you really should be focusing on is convincing us that this is a great idea.
Okay. Have I done that? No, kidding.
No, to be honest with you, no, you haven't.
Well, I
need
was-
you to say,
Yeah.
why is it that you are interested? Your dog, your cat ate a mouse that was killed by somebody's whatever. So why is this interesting?
Well, I
to you?
was told via email from the select board from today that this conversation, I was being invited for you to vote whether or not this would be on the town meeting.
No,
And I was
that's
told
not
that.
correct.
I was emailed that. So that is
I
why.
have a copy of the email. It's
Okay.
not correct. So we've been telling you several times, again, I don't mean to be argumentative, but we've told you several times, and we in fact called you when the issue was put on a Facebook page. This is not a public hearing. This is you
Yep.
addressing us on why we should support your recommendation to ban these things. That's all that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and I understand, but I just simply posted, hey, this is the select board meeting, which residents can attend, even non-residents. I mean, this was from a non-resident. I understand that it isn't a public forum, so, and that was not my intent, to confuse anyone, but I just had, again, I received an email. That's what I understood from the email, that this was not even, that this wasn't necessarily going to be on the town meeting.
My My apologies for that. Your citizens petition automatically is put on.
Okay.
Basically, tonight, it would be whether we recommend, correct me if I'm wrong, favorable action for it.
Favorable action to the town meeting itself.
Okay.
Means
The
if
town
we're,
meeting asks, the moderator asks what the recommendation from the select board is and from the finance committee. Those two bodies have to make a recommendation to the town meeting. So
meaning,
that's all you're doing tonight, is convincing 5 people
Okay.
why we should support you.
so that means basically if we're in favor for it or not, and then that town meeting, like, oh, all right, like a town meeting, you know, if we're for it or against it, or no say whatsoever.
Okay, do you want to speak, Mr. Bowen? Yes, Mr. Bowen is our town council. I think maybe he can explain it a little bit better than I have been able to.
I mean, who can count on the lawyers to make it simpler, huh? So, so you're on the warrant. You'll be up at town meeting. You'll be able to come forward and speak, make an argument as to why the town meeting should vote for it. On the other side, you know, assuming there are people who are on the other side of the issue, they'll probably say things like, you know, the Attorney General will never approve this, because when you adopt a bylaw, it has to go to the Attorney General to be approved before it becomes effective. You know, you'll hear things like that. And, well, I don't advocate for or against any article at town meeting. I do try to help people who are citizen petitioners, citizen legislators, to get their best shot at it. And so my advice or recommendation to you would be, you know, you had mentioned that there were some other towns that had adopted bylaws like this. You might want to find ones that have been adopted and approved by the Attorney General, because then if somebody says, well, the Attorney General will never approve this, you can wave around the piece of paper and say, well, you know, here it is right here. And then, you know, it gets, rather than being a battle of the lawyers, it just becomes a question of whether it's a good policy or a bad policy. So you might want to see what you can find, because without prejudging anything, I see some potential issues, you know, that the AG might have with it. I say might. I don't know for sure. So see if you can find one that's already been approved, and, you know, maybe work your motions so that you're working off of something like that. Just my advice.
So to follow up, she did present us with, I don't know, 10 or 12 pages worth of information. She's done a lot of homework on it. So it's not the appropriate time for us to discuss, to tell you how to write a motion, but I can do that at some other time. But so really what you're here is, why should we support you? Why is this a good idea?
So this, so banning scars is currently in the State House right now under review, HD 4206. So essentially, I adopted the same language, just piggybacking off of that. I looked at the Arlington petition as well, so I essentially mirrored that in order to just get on board. There's already towns on board for this. It appears that this is coming down the pipeline, so I thought it could be an opportunity for Wareham, for the community to get ahead of this and use alternative methods, because it appears that there's a lot of ammunition to ban this.
Excellent. You just did in 3 sentences what we would
Yeah.
like to have heard 5 minutes ago.
Woohoo! Awesome.
Okay, so,
Awesome.
yes, now we're going to...
Thank you for
Yeah.
being so well, Judith was a bit firm, but I needed
Yes,
to be
I was.
put in my place.
Welcome to our life.
But no, I needed that, so I appreciate it. I needed the direction. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
clearly.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I will say, just because of the research I've done with this, and it's been limited, I haven't seen many alternatives. I do understand the reasoning behind it. I do remember reading about owls and other animals, you know, birds of prey, dying from the poisons that were in the rats. I'm not fully on board with it, but I love the citizens petition. That's democracy at its best. If you have any confusion or you need help with it, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll gladly help you in any way I possibly can. But that's also noting to the
He was
public.
not a good student in high school, I can tell you that right now.
Any way to fight the power,
Yeah, thank you.
I'll gladly do it. I'm not letting the public know right now I'm not for this or against it yet. I'm still doing my research on it. but
Perfect.
I'll gladly help you out.
Thank you.
It is confusing as hell.
Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah, go, I'm sorry.
So the argument against this is that there aren't alternatives, or there's no need to ban this? What is the argument against your petition?
So people are afraid of rat infestations, and there is, a bias that rat poison is it's the best method to control the rat populations. But research is showing that when you have bait traps out, it actually attracts rats. So even if you didn't have rats, they smell the food, so they're coming to your house. So now you have them. So snap traps are it's instant. It's just the best option. It's quick. It doesn't lead to secondary poisoning. So yes, I think there's a lot of pushback too, because there's a conflict of interest. Pest control companies, they need to eat. So, and I think that there's room for both. I think there's room for, utilizing alternative methods, and also we need pest control companies. So it's I think it's so important to collaborate with them to choose methods that aren't poisoning, our wildlife.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. What are you doing tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning?
I will be
Do you
here. I own a company, so I
Okay.
can finagle.
10:30 tomorrow morning, if you would step into room 5, I don't know what's my room number across the hall, into Town Hall on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
I will meet with you and explain to you what you have to do to go forward at the town meeting,
Okay,
okay?
perfect.
She was one of those mean history teachers.
Oh,
I wasn't a history
goodness.
teacher, I was an English teacher.
Okay, she was one of those mean English
I'm gonna win
teachers.
your heart, Judith.
Good luck, I've been trying for 3
My
years.
mouth's so dry. I was shaking in my boots. I was so nervous. This is the first time. I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah.
All set?
Yes, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, you were here and you heard the CDBG grant application. There's a piece of paper in front of you
Oh,
that,
yeah.
would you sign?
Yeah.
Yep. Would both of you sign? Did you already sign?
No.
Yeah, would you sign too? You were here for the hearing. We need to provide evidence to our consultants that the public was here. Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to go back to item 6A. Thank you very much. Nice to meet both of you.
Thank you.
6A, which is discussion and possible vote to appoint town council. The appointment of town council is the appointment by the select board. Thank you very much. Good night. And we have had, I believe, Mr. Bowen for, I think it's at least 12 years, and prior to that, we had the firm that he worked for. So if anybody has any questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Quirk.
I have both. So I've had a chance to work a lot with you, Rich, and respect your level of knowledge and what you bring to the job, which you've been doing for many years. But I'm going to ask you something that I used to dread being asked when I was a practicing lawyer and becoming more senior, which is, you are very valuable. What is our succession plan? What is your succession plan? How do we account for the fact that unwillingly you may not. I am, if I am in a glass house.
I get it. It is something I've thought about. And sometimes when people ask me, well, when are you going to retire? My stock answer is, you'll know. You'll find me dead at my desk. It's half joking. but there's also a serious consequence to that. I love what I do. I've done public service law my whole life. When I first got out of college, I had the foolish thought that I might like to be a town administrator. And then after talking to a few town administrators, they told me I was out of my mind and I'd be better off going to law school and seeing if I could get involved in the legal side of it. And so along the way, I've had opportunities to practice in fairly lucrative areas of the law, which I've passed up because this is what I always loved doing. So to get directly to your question, I'm not anxious to retire. Who knows? I mean, God can decide to retire you, whether you like it or not. That's always a possibility. But in terms of succession plan, I've had a few of my colleagues who are similarly situated go through, and as they've reached the point where, I mean, as an attorney and quite an important and successful attorney, after a while, it can grind you down, and you do reach a point where you say, basta, enough. I'm not there. But when I get there, assuming I'm reappointed and allowed to carry on, probably what I would do would be give the board months and months of advance notice, because it's very important to do a transition. You have transitions just purely from the legal side. You need to be able to transition cases. You need to be able to work with a new person to the extent you can transmit the knowledge that you have, in terms of the actual knowledge of the town and the knowledge of the people that the person or firm would be working with. So that time period would be very important. And in fact, I was talking to fellow Jim Lampke, who recently retired as the Hull Town Council. He just went through the same process. And we had a little discussion about transition, mostly because I was interested in what he was doing. He was head of the Mass Municipal Lawyers Association, so Jim was always the gold standard on that stuff. And so Jim gave several months' notice and said, look, by such and such a day, I'd like to wrap things up. And, the board said, okay, what do we do next? Well, what you do next is you go through a process of soliciting a replacement. You'll have philosophical decisions you have to make about whether you want a sole practitioner, which, I went from being a senior partner in a large law firm to me. So in a way, you kind of get a bit of both. But do you want to go with a sole practitioner? Do you want to go with a small firm? Do you want to go with a big, soup to nuts law firm? There are many different ways of doing it, and it just comes down to a question of what at that particular time you think best serves the town. And so, at that point, we would have a discussion. And talk about, what are your goals, ambitions, what kind of service do you want, what are your needs? And then I would certainly try to assist the board in thinking about, the next public procurement. And then you'd pick someone, interview them, pick them, and then once they're in, I'd want to spend quite a bit of time with that person, going through cases. Fortunately, we don't have many cases anymore, but just, trying to help that person get a feel for the place. So in terms of transition, that's, I think, the way it would go. It's probably not unusual, but I think it's the only way to do it. But with all that being said, if you're willing to have me, I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you have a second one?
No, that's it, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? I'll accept the motion.
I move to appoint Mr. Bowen to town council.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Because I was accused of being firm.
The truth hurts. The truth hurts.
That was like Henry Kissinger sitting there.
I was gonna say, you are kind of mean.
I was going to say, are you sure you want to stick around?
Motion made and seconded to extend the appointment of town council to Richard Bowen. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Corp?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so.
All the board members, thank you very much.
You were firm, too.
Yeah, I know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have no idea what an honor it is for me to work for all of you, to work for Derek. And it's been an adventure. I love this town. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe we are down to discussion and possible vote, and make recommendations on the 2025 spring annual town meeting warrant articles. I'm going to ask for a motion, but I'm also going to ask that we hold off on 16, because I'd like to do more work, and I'd like to be able to talk with the young lady tomorrow morning, but if that's okay. Okay?
Yep, I got it.
So,
I gotta do it this way, though. I
Okay.
move for favorable action on Articles 1 through
to recommend
12.
favorable
That's
action.
what I just said, didn't
No. Go ahead.
I? I move to recommend favorable action on Articles 1 through 12 and 14 and 15.
All right.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to recommend favorable action on items 1 through 12 and 14 and 15. Second, would you please read the name of the article, or the title of the
1,
article?
election of officers. 2, reoccurring business. 3, compensation for certain elected and appointed officials. 4, fiscal year 26 revolving fund. 5, occasional reports. 6, fiscal year 26 capital budget, capital plan. 7, fiscal year 26 budget. 8, emergency medical service budget. 9, Upper Cape Regional Tech High School budget. 10, WPCF enterprise fund. 11, fiscal year 26, Community Preservation Fund reserves. 12, transfer of McKinney-Vento funds to transportation rec account. 14, capital planning definition bylaw amendment. 15, capital planning composition charter amendment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend favorable action to the town meeting on all of those.
Madam Chair, it's
Yes.
true.
What?
Yeah, it's just, I may have just missed a point here. A lot of these are going to be the budgets. I mean, there's some like the revolving funds or certain appointed officials, recurring business, but the budget, has not come before you. Emergency medical services, Upper Cape Cod Tech, WPCF, the Community Preservation Fund reserves, they haven't come before you, but that's kind of an automatic thing. You haven't heard the McKinney-Vento, the union contracts still. Those are not ready for you. Capital plan definition, that's in front of you. Capital plan conservation, that's in front of you. But those are those other ones, yeah.
With your permission, Madam Chairman, we anticipated, just to save time, we anticipated that the board likely would not want to
Yeah.
actually take a vote until you had heard those things. So just to spare
Well, but
a little extra process.
Okay, so the fact of the matter is that we do have the amount for the McKinney-Vento. We also have the amount for the community preservation. Those are standard articles. We vote on them every year.
Right, those are fine, but you were now, by the list you were going, included the budgets, included everything.
Okay, so can you withdraw your second?
Withdrawn.
Can you withdraw your?
Withdrawn.
Okay.
I mean, we knew you would be getting to that point anyway. We just
Right.
figured we'd jump in.
Okay, so let's do,
Got confused.
Election of officers.
1, 2, 3,
1, 2, and 3.
5.
The Community Preservation Fund reserves are right here in the warrant. I'm going to ask that we do that, because that's a standard.
WPC enterprise fund.
No, You-
And you said the McKinney-Vento.
yeah, we have the, we have the McKinney-Vento. It's in here. 79,000 some
1,
odd.
2, 3, 5, 11, 12, 14, and 15, right?
12, 14 and 15, yeah.
Anything budget-related, we can,
So 1, 2, 3, 5, 11, 12, 14, and 15.
Okay.
That was your motion? To recommend favorable action to the town meeting?
All right, I recommend favorable action for Articles 1, election of officer; 2, recurring business; 3, compensation of certain elected and appointed officials; 5, occasional reports; 11, fiscal year 26 community preservation fund reserve; 12, transfer of McKinney-Vento funds to transportation rec account; 14, capital planning definition bylaw amendment; 15, capital planning composition charter amendment.
second.
Is there any further discussion on that motion to recommend favorable action on those? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Ms. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So, Mr. Sullivan, you'll be able to do, okay. What I would like to suggest to this board is that we do not request that Mr. Forget come in here and do a budget presentation on the high school budget. On the 13th, there's an all-day-long budget hearing from the department heads, and he will be making a presentation. He, Mr. Forget, the superintendent, Upper Cape, will be making a presentation to the school committee. He does a great presentation
To the Finance Committee.
to the Finance Committee. So I would suggest you either go to that meeting or watch the meeting and not have him do the presentation more than the once, and then he has to do it at town meeting. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay.
He would be more than willing, but this is great. This is great.
Yeah,
so.
no, he would be more than willing, and he does a marvelous presentation, but it's also, yeah, okay. Would you let him know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give him the good news.
Okay, and then the rest of them, I will have well, do you want to speak to the capital planning definition and the capital planning composition of charter amendments, seeing as how you're on the capital planning committee?
No, I think you want to bring the chairperson in for that one.
Okay. We may change our recommendation after we've heard him, but we have at the moment, we have favorable recommendation. Okay, anything else on the town meeting tomorrow? No? Then, and then there's no 48-hour business. Mr. Sullivan, how about a town administrator's report?
Thank you.
Maybe you could be stern.
Firm.
Firm.
Or quick.
As Mr. Darrett mentioned before, Bayview Park, they've started up the operations again over there, and they should be in full swing. Still looking like we'll be ready for the summer season to not interrupt that, which is obviously the goal. I was out there yesterday. It was cold. It was not the best day to be out there looking at some things, but they're doing a great job. They've started the ramp around the gazebo, which is excellent, and the type of it's not Tyvek, but that type of what they're doing for the wood on there for the planking. It's the plastic. But it's just escaping my mind for a minute.
Like Trex?
Yeah, like a Trex decking type thing, thank you. It's the...
PVC wood.
Right, so I'm looking at it, and I said, oh, that's neat, they kind of checkered it. So we're speaking to the contractor, and he said, now you think these are two different colors? And I said, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. He said, walk over this side. It's the same color, but how it shines off of the light changes it a little bit. So I wanted to get that out there ahead of time before people say, I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, thinking, okay, that could be interesting, right? But it is all the same. So.
Budget cuts.
Yeah. No. There are a couple things. What I'm going to look at it, trying for the special town meeting, bring in some funding because. I'm getting quotes on continuing that in front of the onset pier we're doing this sidewalk repair, because we're doing this park, it is beautiful, it is amazing, and then you go back to the entry point to the onset pier, and it's going to look so, beleaguered, if you will, compared to the park. So I like to see why they have all their equipment out there while they're doing the work. I think that's the cheapest option, and see if we can't get that done. But what they've done so far has been excellent, so we're looking forward to that. Another matter, I'd like to thank the IT director, Mr. Underhill, Matt Underhill, and his staff. They have rolled out dual-factor authentication for the town employees, which is an extra cybersecurity system set up. And I know a lot of us have it nowadays with our own whether it's credit cards or anything, but with the diverse nature of municipal operations, going from public safety personnel to all different types, it was a really big effort to roll that out and get it done. So I really appreciate all the hard work he did, and then the assistant town administrator Doreen for helping negotiate with some of the unions on that. So it was we've seen what's happened in Bourne. We don't want to be like that, so they had a whole, not to call out a neighbor or anything like that, but they had a very big cybersecurity incident and were shut down for a long time. So this is our lifeblood of municipal operations now. So that's, that's why having staff like Mr. Underhill, we put the extra employee in there a few years ago. We could probably have a bunch more. We've done extra off-hours cybersecurity monitoring. This is a big push, so. Yeah, so those are the ones. You were sent the copy of the budget. It will be presented tonight to the Finance Committee, and then the all-day public hearing, or budget hearing, I should say, will be, as you said, on March 13th.
Here?
It would be, no, I think across the way over in we should be in room 27. We do it now.
Thank you.
So I've sent the program out to see if that's okay with the chairperson of the Finance Committee. And we're just rolling through that budget and town meeting season. So thank you very much for all your hard work on it.
I have to just make a comment about Bayview Park. Mr. Sullivan from time to time has these whimsical ideas, and one of his whimsical ideas was having the concrete pathways have indentations that look like starfish and shells and stuff like that. It sounds weird, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And having walked the property with him, I would 100% support continuing the improvements in front of the onset pier. It's just like day and night. It's gorgeous. Anyway, congratulations. It's a fabulous, fabulous project, and it's going to look great.
Yeah, thank you. I thought maybe one or two little things on there, and as typical, I have an idea of lead, and Mr. Menard spins it into gold. So it really looks great. So thank you.
Thanks. Liaison initiative reports, board's comments. Monsieur Bessie? No? Ms. Corbett?
No.
You don't want to report on the wonderful library?
Oh, the Friends?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Sure. The Friends of the Wareham Free Library for the first time had a fabric and yarn and notion sale, and they raised over $5,200 for the library. So that was
a lot of yarn.
It was a great success. It's a lot of yarn.
Great, thank you.
Many, many miles of yarn.
Many, many miles. I have no, Mr. Chadwick?
Just a couple things. Just for the public, I'm still actively working on free CPR classes for 30 people. Each month is my goal to test it out for, I want to say, about 4 months right now, see how we get some positivity or negativity on it. I'm still working on it. I'm hoping to have this off the ground at least by May, hoping. I've also been meeting with the schools about the EMT program. I am in the process of doing the research on 2 more things for the school. One is possibly bringing a firefighter program to seniors. I know there's a lot of liability, and the fire department has to be involved with it. So that's another hope. And I've also started researching a program that would allow students to obtain PE credits for helping seniors and veterans with lawn care. And I think that's it.
Oh, that's kind of a neat idea.
It is.
I like that a
There's a school
lot.
that's doing it out in Iowa right now, and I've contacted them to get their information on how they went through the process of being able to do it. I don't know how the state of Massachusetts, the Board of Education, would feel about it, but I think it'd be a phenomenal idea, have some of our students from the school go out to seniors and veterans and help them clean up their yard and help them do some work.
Was it potato farming in Iowa?
Yeah.
Corn farms.
If I can remember straight.
If they build
I'll
it,
let you
they will
know.
come.
The first school that has done it is the Alternative Learning Center Alta Vista campus.
Cool. Thank you. You're set?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk?
Yeah, I have an announcement. I just want to let everybody know that after quite a bit of thinking, I've decided to resign from the Select Board effective May 5th, just before the next election, giving notice early so that people who want to do good, hard work for the town, which really needs good, hard work, are able to make their decisions about running and mount their campaigns. And don't want to make any long speeches now because I'm actually not going anywhere for a while. I'll be doing the work of a select person and the projects that I've set out to do until May 5th. And afterwards, with some things, if y'all will have me and will let me. So really, respect and appreciate everybody on this board, and would just say this is a fantastic town. I love it, and I'll be here.
Thank you very much. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I just want to say real quick, I don't know the reasoning, but definitely losing a wealth of knowledge, and thank you.
Go ahead.
I move for adjournment.
Second. Motion made and seconded to adjourn and is now debatable. I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Corbett?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk? Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. We are adjourned at 8:42. Good night, Wareham. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.